Hi, I'm Brian Kendrick here to talk to you about Realtor Safety today. We have a really risky type business, and where we go out and meet strange people in empty houses. Not many people do that in your industry, and yet we do it on a regular basis. The thing that we have to keep in mind is that we have to not only look out for our safety, but the safety of our clients as well. When we go out and knock on the door and it's a vacant house, there could be somebody in there waiting for us that's not a friendly type. So some of the things that I'd like for us to think about before we ever get out there, I want us to go through and check a little mental checklist. Before you meet with your client, where do you meet them at? Do you meet them at your office? Do you have them fill out a client information sheet? Do you let someone know where you're going and who you're going with? Do you get identification and information on that person? Do you check that person out before you go with them? As you well know, here at GSMER on our cell phones, we have the app where we can check their phone numbers. Please be sure to use that. It'll tell you a lot of information about that individual, what their history is, if they have any criminal records, and a little bit about their credit worthiness. So something to consider. But before you go out, make sure you know that you're talking with your client and find out as much information about them as possible. Get in touch with someone at your office or someone at home. I've been in some situations where I've had family members on the phone with me when I've been out and showing property. So it's a good idea to let someone know where you're at all times. When you're out on a showing or dealing with, or even a listing, if there's that little voice in the back of your head that says, hey, I'm uncomfortable or something's not right, listen to it. That gives you so much as far as being prepared and trying to get ready when you're out in the public. Lord knows we got a crazy world in which we live in today, and that little voice is there to keep you safe. So don't ignore it, listen to it. What I'd like for you to do is when you go out, please do a quick scan of the area and look and see if there's anything that looks unusual. Is there a car in the driveway that shouldn't be there? Is there a lot of shrubbery that's obscuring the view from the street getting into the property? Are there no lights on? Please look at all these things. When you pull up to the property, don't pull in the driveway and allow someone to pull in behind you and block you in. If there is something bad that's happening or going on, you're stuck. You can't get out. So I advise you to pull up on the street, walk into the driveway, and as you walk up the driveway, scan the house and look at it from the sides and the front and up and down the street. There may be a car waiting down the street for you to come up there, and then they're going to show up. That's happened before. It may not just be that one individual that you're dealing with. It may be more than one. So do an assessment as you're walking up. As you unlock the property, let the buyers go in first. Don't let anyone get between you and your escape. Always know where you're going, where you're going to be. As you go through properties, please be aware of where your exits are. Okay? Since it's Realtor Safety Month, we have a few questions that we'd like to ask a few realtors in the area. First question is, what is the number one thing that you do or use for safety as a realtor?
Hi, my name is Frank Heilmeyer. I'm with Great Smoky Mountains Association of Realtors. I'm with Tennessee Smoky Mountain Realty here in Sevierville, Tennessee. This is the month of safety for the National Association of Realtors, and we're going over some questions and having some answers for them, and I'd like to answer some of these questions that were asked me. The first thing that was asked me is, what's the number one thing you do or use for safety as a realtor? The best thing that I think that any of us realtors can do is, first of all, be aware of what's going on, what your surroundings are, who you're in contact with when you're out showing property, and just let people at your office then know that you're going out to show property. Just don't go out on your own and just start showing property to people that you don't know. You've always got to keep in mind that you can be attacked. You can be a target of an attack. Some really bad things have happened in the past. Some of our training classes, I know where this one agent was killed. She was stalked and then killed in a home, and it's just not very good at all when things like that happen. So we've got to be aware of our surroundings and what's going on.
Hi, the number one thing I do for my safety is to qualify a buyer. Not only for your safety, but to make sure that you're just not running around wasting your time and your gas and that sort of thing. But if they're a qualified buyer and they're legit, they'll gladly give you and a lender their information. And if they go that far, they're usually legit. And if they're legit, they're good to go.
Before you go out and show property, you need to decide for yourself, are you going to be the one that is going to fight and defend yourself, or are you going to be the one that gets out of there and leaves? If you decide to defend yourself, what process are you going to use in order to do that? Some people take martial arts and self-defense. Some people use other things like pepper sprays. They use alarms, different things that they can use in trying self-defense less than lethal. NAR tells us that they don't recommend people use firearms. The thing about using a firearm is you have to make a decision within yourself whether you're going to use lethal force in order to defend your life. Like anything else, as a professional, you need to be trained if you're going to use lethal force. With that, you need to go see professional instructors that can help you do that. Owning a firearm does not make you instantly trained in how to use it. Tell us what is the most scary moment that you've had as a realtor, and what do you do differently today?
Okay, scary moments. We've never had any scary moments in our office, thank God. But we did have a cybersecurity issue. One of my agents opened up an email with an attachment that he should not, and it was a ransomware attack. And he lost all of his photos, all of his documents, because we obviously didn't pay that. So I would not say that that was a scary moment, but we were scared straight. We were much more careful, and we are much more careful now to make sure that our antivirus software is up to date and that we don't open emails from people we don't know. And if we do even know people, sometimes we'll take the trouble to call them and say, hey, did you send me this? So that's our scared straight moment.
So the most scary moment I ever had was when I first started real estate. And I had gotten this lead, I was new, and I wanted every lead that I could possibly get. And this particular lead was just getting out of jail. She was an inmate. And I could only talk to her at certain times. So when she would call, we would go through different questions, what she wanted, what she needed. And she had a couple of demands. One was that I picked her up at the airport, and the other was that I took her to her motel room and I would drive her around and, get food and all of this for her. And I said, no, I couldn't do that. Well, after going back and forth with her for a little while, she told me under no uncertain conditions that if I did not do this, that she would put a gun to my head when she got to Florida and she would shoot me. So that was pretty scary. What would I do differently? I didn't pre-qualify her because I was a new agent. Had I pre-qualified her and made her send me or have somebody send me proof of funds or pre-qualification letter, I probably would have been more comfortable with working with her, and there's a good chance I probably would not have worked with her if she couldn't provide that information to me. So what I have found out and what I learned about that as a new agent at the time, which was over 20 years ago, no commission, no amount of money is worth your life.
Whenever you're doing open houses, please be aware, it's always best to have someone there beside yourself. At least do 2 people there. If you can get a vendor or someone to come in and sponsor it, make sure there's 2 of you there so that one of you can be greeting people as they come in the door and the other can kind of be circulating around and watching the other people. Don't ever be at an open house by yourself. It's asking for trouble. Also, try and get information from them as people come in. All right. When you're doing open houses, please remind your sellers that they need to put away all valuables, any firearms, any medications. They need to either take those out, put them in a locked, secure place, or take them with them. special code word in your office to let them know that you're in trouble, or maybe just an emoji in a text message.
Okay, code word. Do we have any kind of special code word or secret system that we use? For years and years, we used the FAME red file, where the agent would, call in and say, can you give me the information in the red file? And that was to be coded that I don't feel very comfortable. Will you call me? Let's try to get me out of this situation. But that became very well known. So I took a safety class back in June, and they recommended that you use an emoji system. So there's 3 preset emojis that you use in your office. One emoji is sent out by me or somebody else in the office, and that emoji represents, hey, how's it going? Is everything all right? And then the showing agent has 2 options, 2 emojis that they can send back. And one emoji will say, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, give me a call. The other emoji says, everything's A-okay, thanks for checking in. So that's what we use right now.
Mainly, we want to know that you and your office have safety protocols in place. If you don't have safety protocols, or your broker doesn't have them already, you begin to institute them. You go to your broker and say, hey, look, I'm willing to step in there and try and get things started. Simple things as far as passwords and code words to let someone know that you're in trouble. And whatever you do, don't use red file. That's a industry-known code word. Pick something innocuous that you can use that everybody within your office knows what that code word is. And then if you're out and you need to get in touch with someone, if you're in trouble, just tell them that, look, if I don't call my office, they're going to wonder what's happened to me if I don't check in with them. And then call and then use your code word somehow in whatever phrase that you agree at your office. Do you use forewarn? And if you do, tell us a good story about when you've used it.
I do use forewarn. Forewarn, I think, is the best tool that our board has ever given to us. It lets me know that that person is legitimate. It tells me a little bit about them, such as their age, where they live, whether or not they own property. It even tells me the kind of vehicle they're probably going to be showing up in. So that's the beauty about forewarn, and it's a tool that I hope even if it wasn't provided for us, I will always use forewarn because it just tells you so much.
We do have a great program called Forewarn. It's through our cell phone system, and when we get a phone number of somebody that we don't know, we can actually look them up to find out if they have a history, criminal history, or a history as far as their credit and how many cars they've owned, things like that. I don't really look at it for that. And mainly what I like about Forewarn is if I don't know who's calling me, I can put their phone number in, and usually about 8 times out of 10 I can get a result back on that person. Sometimes it's for somebody else. Nothing is 100% perfect, but it is a great program. Forewarn, I love it. I recommend that for everybody to use, and our association makes that available to us at no cost, which is, we don't have any reason for not to use Forewarn.
Threats come to us not only personally, but also through the internet. As everyone knows, there's all types of scams and people trying to get into our data that we have on our computers. A lot of that may be confidential information. What you need to decide is, what are you going to keep on file? What are you going to keep hard copies on? And the measures you're going to take to secure that information. Now, your broker should have information on that already and be able to give you their policies on what they're going to do as far as security for data. There are different software programs out there. There is encryption for emails that I know a lot of people are looking into now, something you need to be aware of. Stealing your information is something that you need to have a policy in place that if someone should tap into your computer and hack it, then you need to have a policy in place of how to notify people to let them know that their information, personal information, may be in jeopardy. While we're on the topic of internet and the Wild Wild Web, please be aware when you're posting information on social media. If you have clients and you take their picture, be sure that you have their permission before you start posting it out there. Another thing, since we're talking about internet, is passwords. I know passwords are a hassle to keep up with, and there's so many different websites we have nowadays, it's hard to keep up with passwords. And you don't want the same password for every website. Something you can do is you can create smart passwords. Create a phrase and a numeric and use the first letter of that phrase in the password. You can make them as long as you want. You can put a group of letters at the beginning, your phrase, set of numbers in the middle, and then another set of numbers at the end, and mix it up, and it makes it much, much more complicated for hackers to steal your password. In closing, guys, please make sure you got some policies in place ahead of time. It's way too late to try and come up or think of what to do when you're in the middle of the situation. If you don't have any policies in place, we have forms and checklists provided on the MLS in the document section where you can go and pull up safety. Pull those down, take them, present them at your next office meeting, go over them with your broker, see what you all decide to work on. And if you have any questions, please get in touch with us and let us know. NAR has lots of good videos online that you can also use in your own office safety program. Thank you. Before you get out there, what I want you to know, when you're out showing property, please be aware of all your surroundings. And you need to have some of these, kill it.